heard the variation once so many times. Rosita, I gotta trim this.
What am I doing wrong here?
Finish.
There we go.
I'm sorry, Gittes
Well,
couldn't make
great.
it.
Yeah, well, we're going to get him down here, maybe in the spring. In fact, I'm going to try to get Bill Grossman to come down, too.
Well, I'll have all these unusual rolls
That would
out.
be fun if Bill Grossman.
Yeah, it'd be great if he comes.
Has,
Soundtrack.
let me get my glasses. Then
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Nipping the effect. You know, I get this feeling, Doug, it was sort of like, what is that?
It's like watching an engraver. It's not that I'm nervous, but it's
documentary here.
It is sort of strange.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm doing a roll where I'm creating new sounds,
It's usually on your own.
I can repeat the measure over and over, and it's about as exciting as watching somebody weave a rug. If I'm interpreting music that's already been written,
Yeah, that's a whole different
that's
thing.
a whole different thing. And usually I alternate on rolls. I won't do two Yad La Joie type rolls back to back, and I won't do two scores. Let me see if I can find something here.
So variety is pretty important.
So that I can read rapidly.
Sort of like documenting the John Henry of player piano manufacturer versus the QRS marking piano and see who wins, right?
Yeah, okay. Let's see, let's just roll.
This has a rectangle in the viewer that blinks.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what that means.
I mean, too much light, not enough light.
Maybe.
Oh, here's that woman.
There's a red light on the
It's
front.
not blinking. Yeah, well,
that woman with
that's
her
just
grands.
it's when it's recording.
George Gershwin plays
that's
this
all.
way
Oh,
because he
that's
filled
ridiculous.
his notes in, and he played on. He led the pack
That
on
woman
player
was
piano rolls.
daydreaming.
God,
And she wouldn't listen to you at all.
no. But I don't have to go to the. I didn't want to pay $20 a selection for the those Gershwin things to be cut, so I was reading through some things, and I found that one of those Publishers Clearinghouse type places have them on a record. So
Great.
I've ordered them to see what happens. Okay. Of course, usually I have it Xeroxed, you know, instead of.
Yeah, that would be easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, we'll see what we can do.
You can see the paper nice and clear?
Let's see. Maybe I can hold it up. I was really going to be all prepared for you for this, but then he says, I want 120 tapes by Monday, and he calls me up Saturday night before he goes down again. Since he's buying tapes, I had to, you know, balance one thing against another. Just a minute. I lower this. This originally had a music rack, but they always broke off. And I'm always hoping someday I'll put a music rack. Just flatten it out. Stick with it. You know, stick with it, okay.
I think we're better off over here.
I always want things to line up, so generally speaking, I go the horizontal route before I start, which is not what Labargian says to do. I say to punch each one forward as you go along. Also, when I'm into a key, I hate sheet music, to be frank with you. When I'm into a key, it's a little easier. After about the first few lines, I'm into the key. Let's see, that's D sharp. F sharp, pardon me, I need my tape.
So right now you've got the beginning.
Once you get a couple of measures going, it's you'll be surprised how fast the whole process is. I hit an F instead of an F sharp here.
And when you do that, you just tape over.
Yeah.
Punch right through the tape.
Yeah.
Used to be beach ball cement I used. Okay. Now the treble. Usually I cut the accompaniment. They tell you to do it the other way around in the margin. I'll cut the accompaniment first. Okay, now we're in the eyeball department here. Basically. No, we're not.
So basically you've got the beginnings of your chords?
Yeah, that's how I do it.
Okay.
Of course, I've done so many styles for so long now. What do I do? Advanced. Sorry, I'm not just talking like this. It's when, well, you know, once after I get a few lines done, then I can just look down here and I already know where to stick the thing. Okay, just take a moment here to correct this. All right, this is more like it.
How far can you move up and down without moving the paper?
You set it for one measure. This goes a little beyond the measure. I'm using a tighter measure. my measure ends here. Okay, now if I were doing this, I'd say, well, hell with it. I've got 88 fingers. Let's get 10 people often don't pull notes out, so we'll stick that in. All right, now comes the time of accompaniment. I start eyeballing it.
You sort of orchestrate it as you go.
Yeah, this is what I mean by I'm cutting interpretively. I sort of know what I should be doing here and holding the notes down. Now this is a repeat of the same one, so there's no sense belaboring. Your ear already heard that one once before. It's not a different note in the bass. Now, we'll hold the note down. And my back end, see I've got an overlap going here. Now, here, I'm not going to have it like a traditional roll the same length because I want to direct your ear upward to hear this. So it's a little bit sliced, a little bit longer. It's not homogeneous. Okay, now we hold this down here. I'll do a few bars here. Now this is clipped because you're anticipating the next beat. And this is where you've rested, so you hold that down a while. It's not essential that you hear that because it's the same pitch. So I then usually hold the note here. Sometimes I put thematist holes on the side if it's a... got that to begin with. All right. Okay, now we're into the bass here. I'd put an octave down for this. It's a little exciting.
Just to re-emphasize.
Yeah. Yeah, when you no longer say that it's reproducing the pianist, it's amazing how much freedom you have.
Right.
Many times I'll advance when I get a really complicated ragtime. I'll pull things just a little further forward, like you're anticipating that you really are getting up to this exciting note.
You double the bass octaves a lot?
Sometimes, but I'll often advance the rhythm a little bit too. Yeah. It depends if this bass passage, there's a crescendo there. I think is important.
How do you know how far to push the thing forward? Are there markings on there?
No, it takes years of experience. Well, what I'll do is I'll cut. Why don't I cut this and then I'll cut it the way it is on sheet music. And then you can hear the difference. Just tell
Okay.
if you don't mind waiting for that. Okay. All right, we've no sense going below. There are a lot of pianists that play that note anyway. Okay. Now, see, my feeling is your piano's trailing off while you're listening to this, so there's no sense carrying that all the way along. You're just going to string valves, and somebody that isn't up pumping correctly is going to miss out. So I just sort of know when to drop it off. Okay.
Okay, so this measure is straight from the music.
Well, but it's shorter. The chord is not running onto that. I've dropped it off somewhere
Okay, you
between
dropped it
those.
off in the middle of
You
the
can
music.
see that, see,
Yes.
because I figure you're going to need an accent to start your new treble anyhow. And with all that going on in the bass, you're not. See, I'm always thinking, where is the mind being directed? Which when I play with this, I'm doing that all the time. If you wanted, I could play one for Normac, this on the
sure.
on the tape,
Yeah.
and then you can see how I arrived at the roll, because there are a lot of things about it that aren't on the sheet music. Okay, now here we're going on the bass. Now, so many players leak valves. You're holding notes down on the treble. These are the things that go on in my mind. So this is sort of a syncopated beat here. So we'll make it very short. Slight overlap. Okay, now we've rested here. You know something more is going to come, so make another break. I'm constantly considering, bad valves and everything else, and people that pedal at one volume, so that you hopefully in the arrangement will give the illusion of accenting. Now, see, this should all be the same theoretically, but it isn't. See, because this is a more important note. This is being clipped, so you'll notice this, and then you pull it up early so you can get down to the next semitone. Okay. Now we'll do one more bar here, and then I'll do the 4 bars here. Hopefully I haven't made too many errors. Okay, now we have here just a C. Now normally I don't do that on a roll. They're using the E here, so I'll put another E down below and make it a little thicker. With 2 hands you can get by with that. An E here, I'll just drop this one down just to be cute. I don't even know what it sounds like, so this will be...
We'll find
Yeah.
Surprise to you also.
Now I'll hold this one down longer here, because
What is this,
this note is
Gershwin?
being... No,
Joplin.
this is
Oh, Joplin.
some Joplin thing. Okay, this one, I held this one down not as long as this. This I overlap sort of Ampico style because it's a repeat of that same note. So I'd rather have you, after you've heard this, get down here so that seems like it's a fresh. So I consider how many times is that note being used. On a monotone player piano version, you start noticing that first and foremost. Okay. Now back to the treble. See, we have quite a bit of space here for valves to open and close.
Sometimes you care more about where the notes end for long runs than they do in the beginning, so notice you go back. Sometimes
Yes,
you extend forward as often you extend backwards.
Yeah, I do. I can extend both ways. Sometimes I might, like, for example, decide if it's a jazz piece, I may actually go forward from this and maybe pull it forward a 64th note. Just because a lot of pianists do that. It gives you the illusion of a sort of a jazz accent, which it isn't really. A lot of this is illusion. It's like, you know, animated cartoons.
Yeah.
And of course, you can only really subscribe to it if you get rid of this golden era of wonderful. It's like these people, you know, Dorothy types. To me, I like these people who say, "Oh, it's Jean Harlow," and you have pictures all over the room. You know, and the thing is, Jean Harlow made all these extra computer steps. I think slow you down. Because I'm thinking what the piano is doing as I'm doing this. This isn't experimentation. In other words, I figure like, gee, I'm going to hop here and land here. It's got that sort of, I can't exactly put it into words. But now here again, we'll clip this note. Now there's a bigger jump down here, so I'll keep the note on longer than I did here. By about a little over 64. All right. Now since it's the end of the demonstration, I'll just hold this on a little bit.
How long will that all take to play?
Not long at all, just 4 bars. Okay, now we'll repeat it again, as if it were cut by Universal or something like that. It's a hard sell. One, get people to stop listening to that QRS sound or whatever sound you want. The very fact the companies advertised they had a sound, you can forget about the artist. Because if you had a sound, that meant that there was a formula overriding everything. So I hope I've done my bit in the
Sort of like
to
that
ruin the
Motown
myths.
sound or something.
Yeah. Well, it's like old movies. You can usually tell animated cartoons, Hollywood films, and I can tell most TV movies by production companies by looking at them for a few minutes.
Yeah, the color, the...
Well, Aaron Spelling has overdressed women in cars that are expensive and peel out all the time, and Universal Productions has orangey-looking colors on the titles, and they have too many cars driving down Santa Monica Boulevard with extras in it, and you're supposed to think it's James Garner, and each one has their own. Stephen J. Cannell always have macho men. They drive expensive cars. The women get killed off or have to go elsewhere. And then they always have some crazy-headed buddy type, some electronic whiz with them. And so you end up with the same macho man riding into town next week, whether it's Stingray or whatever. Top of the Hill is an exception. But there's a formula to most of these things.
Now this is straight punching.
This is straight punching, yeah. I still am going to start doing it the same way here. Just a moment.
Hard to restrain it.
Yeah, I've already put some. I put an octave in I shouldn't do.
Bad duck, down boy.
Okay. I don't think people really understand what I'm doing when I say what I almost wanted to overlap there and I didn't do it. Gee, I have to really force myself.
It's hard to unlearn.
You know how
years
bad
of
it's
training.
going to sound.
Don't do it so good.
Well, I'm going to be doing this Lola number from the Blue Angel. That's what they wanted in Europe. And on the middle of it, I thought I'd have drunk sailors doing Lola's Pianola, Falling in Love Again, and make it a mandolin version with the wrong speeds and everything else. So in the reproducing world, we'll do it automatically. On the 88, I'll have to have some, bad comments on how to pedal incorrectly or something like that. So there'll be pictures of sailors pumping an upright with Marlene Dietrich pictures around, and then it'll go back again to Lola and the Pianola afterwards, which will be sort
You
of
think that's enough of that, Michael?
No, we need to. You really should have the same 4
You
bars.
want to save some
No,
batteries
I mean
for when we
recording.
play it.
Well, I've got the battery. I mean, I've got the plug-in cord.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to really force myself
I'd
to
say
do
keep
this.
rolling.
All right. It's getting heavy.
I should have brought you my tripod down
Yeah.
for you. I don't know why I didn't think of it.
Nah, that's
You're holding still, aren't you?
fairly still.
Why don't you take a turn, Mike? Get your perspective on it.
This is going to be so boring.
You want to try it?
Okay.
I wish you
Just
hadn't-
show me the buttons
hadn't
too.
wasted the tape.
Well,
Well,
there's
you can
only-
always erase.
Only two
Yeah,
you have
that's
to
good.
worry about.